Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's expert webinar titled Assure Beginners to Administrator. I'm Satyakshi from SpringPeople. We are India's largest enterprise training provider. I will be your moderator for today's session. So in today's webinar, we have our expert Sheikh Dawood, a Microsoft certified Azure Fundamentals and Administrator Associate with over a 12 plus years of experience as a Windows Server administrator across MNCs like Bosch, Wipro, HCL, to name a few. He has an expertise on cloud services such as Office 365, Exchange Online, OneDrive, Skype, and Azure. In today's session, he will be unraveling the answers to many of your Azure related questions like what are the spectrums of services offered? How is it more beneficial that having your infra on premises? How is the pricing structured to meet your needs? Where can you start your journey to become an Azure wizard? If you have any questions during the session, please type it in the chat box and they will be addressed by Sheikh after the presentation is over. So without further ado, let's start today's session. Now I would like to call Sheikh Dawood to start the session. Over to you, Sheikh.
Thank you, Satyakshi. Good afternoon, welcome everyone. So as Satyakshi introduced, I have a bit of experience on Azure. So this webinar is mainly targeted for the audience. The main audience we are looking for is like the administrators who are very much comfortable in working on the on-premises. If your company is looking to move on to the cloud, it could be like the Azure cloud or any sort of cloud. Like we are looking for administrators who can get started with the cloud computing. So I'm sure everyone would have heard about cloud computing. So many people are talking about cloud computing. That is going to be the future. Many companies are thinking about it, talking about it, implementing it. So as an administrator, to be up to the mark according to the industry, it is very important for any administrator to be knowing like what is cloud computing, what is it all it's about. Probably like we'll be knowing about Azure, but Azure falls into which category of it, and what like how Azure serves it. So all those things like I'm going to unveiling for you, so that like you'll get a very clear cut idea, so that like you can have a very clear path on the Azure platform. There are so many certifications available. I'm going to tell you like what is what, and also I'm going to give you a guidance in the sense like if you do this, how much is your beneficiary you're going to get it in terms of your profile value, and how is it going to help you and your company to grow together, and you can have a better administrator skills, as in when your company is moving to Azure, you can be ready in terms of managing your infrastructure in a better way. All right, let's get started. So to get started with, we are going to understand first of all, like what is cloud computing. So before we could really go to cloud computing, what are the roadblocks that an on-premises infrastructure is facing? So if you talk about an on-premises infrastructure, there are like so many roadblocks like procuring the hardware, securing the hardware, installing it, procuring licenses, space, cooling solutions, security, and there are so many factors that was on the conventional on-premises model. So because like companies do not want to manage it so much, so that's when this cloud model came into picture, saying like companies like the large enterprises like Microsoft or Google or Amazon, they came up with a model saying like I'm going to have my data center, you come and be a tenant in my data center, host all your services, and it will be working like as such you are having your own data center. You don't have to pay me, I mean like you don't have to definitely they have to pay a amount which is as per your usage, but we don't have to take too much of management about the infrastructure or the licensing cost or the patching updates. All those things Microsoft or any cloud provider is saying like I will be taking care of it. So that was the fascinating factor that is given by the cloud vendors, and that is why many companies are now definitely thinking about the cloud. So if a company is thinking about the cloud, what are the options that they are having? What is so first option we have is the public cloud. the public cloud vendors we have are like the Azure, Amazon, Google Cloud Platform. These are the public cloud, which means like they are completely a completely a different vendor, wherein like as a company we have to go there and we have to set up our own organizations on their infrastructure. They will say they will give you the whole structure. They will give you VMs, they will give you network, they will give you the storage. All you have to do is like set up things how it is looking up on your on premises. That setup you could be having it over there. What is the advantage is that first is like you don't have to do patching, and in case if there is a disaster you don't have to worry about it. In case if there is a data sync between multiple regions, you don't have to worry about it. All those things are definitely taken care by the cloud provider. So that concept is the public cloud. And also you say that no, I don't want to go for a public cloud, probably I want to set up a private cloud for myself. So that like that is also possible, wherein like you will be having a complete control over the resources available for you. Only you will be able to access it, you can maintain it, you can patch it, you can upgrade it. All those controls will be done for you very specifically. That is totally available in a private cloud. So what is a hybrid cloud? Talking about the hybrid cloud is like it's a mixture of your public and the private, wherein like probably you will be having few of the resources on the cloud and few of the resources on the on premises. So that combination is called as a hybrid cloud. Probably you might think like, why do we need to go for a public cloud? The reason being that it could be multiple reason, saying like the application dependency or any of the software dependency. Any legacy software is running on the on-premises side, which we require for us to maintain it. So all those things count. That makes the company to keep a on-premises presence as well as the hybrid presence. So on a whole, the cloud models are divided into three, which is a public, private, and the hybrid cloud. So talking about the next one is like all these cloud infrastructures are divided into three major categories, as you might know, saying like the infrastructure as a service, software as a service, and platform as a service. So it is very important to know like which one is managed by you and which one is managed by the cloud vendor. That is very important for us to know about it. So when you say that you are on an on-premises structure, everything we are managing, which means it could be a network, it could be a storage, it could be like a servers, VMs, operating systems, middleware, everything we have to maintain it. If there is any problem with the switch, as a network administrator we should be solving it. If you're having if the storage is running out, as an administrator we have to upgrade it. So servers, if the server is crashing, so we should be pitching in and we have to fix it. So like that, like the whole and sole responsibility of the data center lies on your shoulder, lies on the company's shoulder, to be very precise. So now what is the infrastructure as a service is that, saying like in this case you will be provided with the networking. In case like tomorrow, if you say like if your company wants to start a very small office in some other location, they don't have to have a data center. They can quickly go to Azure, they can procure a small subscription, they will be able to get started with it. The conventional model of setting up an office and also like setting up the network, buying servers, buying licenses for this operating system, all those conventional model are completely gone. So when the companies are moving to the latest technology, as an administrator we should also be moving to the next level. That is very important. So in this case, in an infrastructure as a service, what is that the cloud vendor provides to you is like they provide you the networking, storage, servers, and the VMs. On top of it, you can do your customization, which means like you can install whatever OS you wanted, whatever middleware applications you wanted. You can have your own data and you can run your own applications. That concept is called as the infrastructure as a service, which means like your Azure. your AWS also falls into this particular category of infrastructure as a service, which means in Azure, there is a whole and soul very beautiful data center which is set up by Microsoft, wherein like you are going to act as a tenant, buy a small space in the Azure data center, you are going to deploy all your things. So you don't have to think about like how it is all connected. It is going to be connected as a single environment. It is going to behave like your own, like your own data center itself. That is the advantage of it. That concept is called as infrastructure as a service. Talking about the platform service, platform as a service, so the cloud provides you the operating system, middleware, and the runtime as well. So the only thing that you're going to do is like you're going to have your applications and the data so that you can use it as a platform for any sort of testing. It could be a .NET platform or the Java, any sort of platform. You will be able to use it when you want to implement the platform as a service. Talking about the software as a service, now everything has been provided to you. You don't have to do anything. Simply start procuring, start using the software which Microsoft or any other vendor is giving on the cloud platform. So for a very classic example, and I'm sure that your company will be on that classic example is the Office 365, which has you don't have any control on any of the servers. You have only the management of it on, and top of it, the you don't have any control on say like it could be like upgrades, or it could be like installation. You don't have any control on it. That kind of service which is provided by the cloud vendors is called as the software as a service, right? So now this is the major category that any sort of service is being categorized, which is IaaS, SaaS, and the PaaS, while comparing with the your conventional model of the on-premises. Okay, so here what is that we are going to talk about in the cloud computing, very specific. It could be like the infrastructure as a service. What is that being provided, how you can categorize it, all those things like we are going to see it. So first thing comes the compute. So inside the compute, what are the things which are available are probably your VMs, your virtual machines, because like everything is designed as a servers over here. So that comes inside the compute category. How can you design your VMs? What is the operating system that you can have it, like how you can make it as a highly available? What happens if there is something goes failure? How we can manage a disaster? All those things comes into the compute category. So talking about the storage, so everyone in the company are accumulating data, everything. So that has to be on the storage part. So the very basic need is the networking part, which means like how everything is going to be connected, how they now in this situation networking is playing a major role. So if you're on a cloud services, you don't even really have to worry about it, because like connecting from anywhere, work from anywhere, accessing a data from anywhere is a default part of it. You don't even have to worry about it. It is a default part of it. And also like you don't have to invest additionally on any of the analytics or the monitoring solutions. You don't have to worry about it. Your platforms, your cloud partners or cloud providers, they have everything designed for you. So they give you a very granular data which can give you a very clear uh, statistics about like what is going well, what is going wrong, how we can improve it. There is a Azure advisor is there, which will advise you in case if you are running a machine for a long time. All those things it advises you in a very granular way. So that is why Azure is one of the like is having a major share on the cloud computing sector. So we'll be talking about that in a very specific way. So what is important, why do we need to go for it? The only thought process is like I don't want to maintain it, I don't want to worry about all the underlying infrastructure. I'm worrying about the application which is running on top of it, but I don't want to worry about the operating system or the softwares upgrades license. So that is why half of the tension is being taken by the cloud vendors. So that's why many companies are proactively looking to move to the cloud. So talking about now the Microsoft Azure. So Microsoft Azure is one of the market leader because Amazon and Azure are the tight competitors. So they are having the major share in the cloud industry. So now Microsoft being a legacy company, being a say like a very favorite company for many organizations. So Microsoft Azure is having a great presence on multiple regions. I'll show you that. First of all, we are understanding like how Azure and what are the features which are available in Microsoft Azure. So the first option that we are having is the high availability. So in case if you are a Windows administrator, or if you are a database administrator, or you are an Exchange administrator, whatever administrator you are, the very first idea for the best business continuity that you have to implement is the high availability. At any point of time, we do not want the business to be going down. So in that case, we have to maintain the high availability. So here also, the high availability can be maintained at a very ease level. So you can maintain a high availability which is like a 99.99 percentage high, which is which is which is not easy to implement in terms of an on-premises, because Microsoft is having a presence across 140 countries. So which means like your data can be spreaded, can be kept across any corner of the world. Even though whatever happens, even the major disaster happens, even the natural calamity happens, also your data is available, your service is definitely up and running. That is the best thing about the Azure. So there are many high availability features, like say like the availability sets, availability zone. So these are the best availability features that Microsoft provides, which provides you a 99.99 percentage of uptime, so that your services are not gonna go down whatever happens. That is the best thing. And also the second is the scalability. So scalability is a very important feature. Probably like now we are all really using it. Why I'm saying that? Because like whenever you think a company which really wanted to implement the work from home feature, they would have planned for say like my 10% of my employee will be working from home, or it could be like 20% of employee could be working from home. But see the situation how it has changed. The situation has changed in a way like 90 to 95% of employees are working from home. So that there was a immediate scalability which was required during this COVID situation. So that kind of scalability can be implemented at a very easy way. Probably like if you want like more servers which needs to be added to the firewall, or which needs to be added to the internet authentication, or whatever you would like to name it, that is possible very easy. And also like you don't have to scale it and keep it unused. You don't have to really do it. For example, like if there is a sale, if there is a flash sale which is happening on any of the website, they are going to have a flash sale only for say like couple of hours. For that couple of hours, if I have to do that on premises, I need to buy, and I need to buy some additional resources. Once that flash sale is done, probably it's going to be unused. So the major part of the unused resources, that is completely stopped. That is a good thing about the scalability, and that option is definitely available on the Azure part. So these options are the most attractive options for a company to look up for a cloud. So when you are becoming an administrator, you should be knowing that how can I work on the scalability, what is the option that is available for doing a scalability in my domain. That is what, as an administrator, you should be looking for in the Azure part. So next is the global reach. For example, if a company which is having a global presence, if they say like I want to go on a cloud, I don't want to maintain my data centers, it is very easy for that company to go with Azure, because Azure is already having a presence on 54 countries. So it is very easy to create the resources on the respective region for a way to create a data center, and to avoid the network latency for the customers who are trying to access the resources. It's going to look like the same way as they are accessing from their own native data centers. That is the good thing about this. So the agility, how quick you can bring it up, that is the good thing about it. As within a matter of clicks, you can have a server up and running. If you want to put a countdown timer also, within 2 minutes you can have a 2016 server up and running. You can have a Linux, Ubuntu, or a RHEL 7 or 8, any server you can have it running within a countdown of 120 seconds, which is not a case in on premises, which is going to take a minimum of 30 minutes to 1 hour for you to bring up a server. It is that quick, it's that agile. If you don't want a server, immediately delete it, go for a new one. It is like, if you want to fail fast, and then learn the new one very quickly, learn from the failure and then move quickly. So that agility option is also given to you in the Azure. So the next one is the disaster recovery. As I told you already, inside the high availability itself, there is a disaster recovery option. If something happens in one particular data center, if there is a flood, natural calamity, anything could happen in one data center, then the data center level failover will happen, and your services, your applications, your connectivity, everything will be supplied from a different data center. The users won't even feel a downtime. The downtime is not applicable, or it's very minimal when there is a failover is happening, because your services are definitely synced on a different data centers as well, provided if you have designed it like that, and technically speaking it will be taken over from a different data center. So talking about the fault tolerance, it has a very less fault that could really happen. Why? Because like everything is on a high processor things, like there is no latency, there is no lagging of servers, and there is no failure that could really happen because everything is on top. And moreover, the best thing about is like it is all maintained by the Microsoft experts. So the data center is all updated, it's all like maintained. If there is any problem, it's all solved by Microsoft itself. If there is any problem which is happening, they are the first ones who are going to find it, fix it, and keep it ready. So which means like if a company wants to go for a Microsoft Azure, they are in a much more safer hands when they are going for an Azure subscription. Next is the elasticity. So this elasticity, again, as I compared in the scalability feature, you can quickly add like 10 servers and delete 10 servers. And in fact, you don't even have to do it. You just write the condition, say like if the processor becomes 70 percentage for continuous 10 minutes, add 2 servers. It's a rule. It's a algorithm. You write that rule, automatically the machine is going to do it. So it could happen anytime. It could happen at 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning. You don't have to get up. You just design it, and automatically that machine is going to do the job for you, which is almost like an artificial intelligence which is working. But as administrator, you have to write that code. It's not a code actually. You just design that particular part, and it is going to do the automatic elasticity. It will expand the number of servers. As in when the job is done, it is going to come back to its normal state. That concept of elasticity is also available in Azure, which also it's not complicated. It's very easy to use. You just go to the portal, and the traversing into the options are very easy. And any administrator who is pretty new to Azure can also do it. That is the good thing about it. So Microsoft is always about simplicity in terms of administration. Like if you are a person who is very much comfortable in terms of on-premises administration, it will be very easy for you to move on to Azure and get started with administration, because the page is very simple. The portal has been designed to keep the understanding and the clarity of information to be very clear and crisp. So the next is the customer latency. So the customer latency capabilities is also something like they want to reduce it as much as possible, that the customer should feel that everything is coming from my own data center, everything is coming from my own region. So that kind of latency, like you won't even feel, the companies won't even feel when they are going in for Azure. The success statement of Azure is like, it looks like they are still on the on-premises, because like the data accessibility, the customers feel it all looks like everything is sitting in my data center only. That kind of access easiness is given by Azure. And also the predictive cost. What is the best thing about Azure is like pay as you go model. In an on-premises, let's imagine that your company is planning to expand your data center. So they have to again buy all the machines, buy all the licenses. That is going to be a definitely a longer duration one, which could happen. But here you can, before you can really do it, here you can have a cost analysis. You can have an understanding that if I am going to add another 10 servers in Azure, how much I'm going to be billed. If I'm going to add another 20 servers, how much I'm going to be billed. You can have a cost analysis. You can understand your day-to-day cost, how much it is consumed. At some point of time, if you say like, okay, this is going higher, this I don't need these many servers, immediately you can bring the cost in control. And the best thing is like, it's pay as you go. If you feel like, I want like, there are some regions, like you say like, I don't want this region to be up and running during this COVID situation. I would like to stop it from here, means that is totally fine. You are going to make it in a way like it's a pay as you go model, which means like you pay only for the resources that you use. So which means the companies can have a very clear understanding of how much of data is being used and how much of data Microsoft is billing me. And you will get a detailed bill like what are all the resource, how much time it is used, so that you get a clarity of your billing. In case talking about the on-premises, what general mistake happens is like, when a server is decommissioned, it still lies on the data center just like that. So there are like very less time that a decommissioned server has been taken out of the data center, and definitely no one is going to buy it, but there is a very less chance the decommissioned server has been taken out of a data center. But here, if you want to increase it, immediately you can increase it. If you want to decrease it, immediately you can decommission it. All those the customization is given at a matter of a clicks on the portal. So definitely the security is there, is at the high level. There is a separate team of information security which is in Microsoft, which is working for making your services, for making your applications, whatever you host it, any resource which you host on Microsoft Azure is going to be maintained at a top-notch security. So whatever the definitions, whatever the virus definition, or any sort of risk factors that is coming up in the world, Microsoft is having a very intelligent team which is working on the security part to control it, stop it, and protect your resources from any sort of damage. So if it is on premises, then there is a huge risk for it. You need to have information security team, you need to have the respective softwares, you need to have the firewalls, you need to have the internet security. If there is a new risk which is coming out, you should be ready to download it and fix it. You have to wait for an update. So that is like for on-premises infrastructure, it's like a too much of work for them, and it could end up in a business critical things also. What if there is a data loss? What if there is a security breach? So all those things are like very costly for losing. So it's a very important things that could go wrong. So if a company thinks like, I don't want to take all these risks, I want to go with Azure, I want to be in the safer hands, then the company is going to have a highest and the tightest security possible from Microsoft. And many of the banks are also in Azure, and they are having a very tight security, and they are in a closed zone, so that like like no one can really access it and crack it on it. Okay, good. So this is what I was telling. If a company really is looking for, if a company who is having branches, say like in Asia, US, UK, and Asia Pacific, in that cases, going to Azure, it's very, very easy. So you say like, I want to add a server in the in the US region. Very simple. You just create resource on the West US. It's that simple. You don't have to probably buy a server in US, and then how can I do it? I need to have a person to deploy it. Nothing. It's just a drop down is going to make a difference that you're going to create a server in US or in India. That's it. That is the difference. So the moment you say sitting at India, we are all supporting either the foreign clients, either the US client or the UK client or the Middle East client or the Asia Pacific clients. So how easy is to create one server for them for a easy access and the less network latency is just the only difference is the drop down box. That's it. You just choose the relevant region. It is going to be deployed on that particular location, and the accessibility is going to be on a very simple and a very quicker note. That is the good thing about Azure. So Microsoft has a presence in 54 regions, 140 countries. It is having a presence in India. It is having like three regions. It is having a West India, Central India, and the South India. So in Asia, it is having a Southeast Asia presence. Majorly on the US part, it is having like lot of regions are covered. So whatever you are seeing is like the blue dots. That is the places like where it is having its region. The one which you are having the diamond symbol on it, that is called as an availability zone. So which means this availability zone is something like which gives you a 99.99% of uptime at any cost. Microsoft promises that whatever happens, it could be any sort of worst things or a disaster or a natural calamity or a data center is going down. In any cases, Microsoft promises that I'm going to provide you a 99.9 percentage of uptime. That is the promise that Microsoft is having for all its customers. Okay, so now talking about this, saying like how are we going to proceed, which means like we are all here for getting into the Azure track. So the concept that what is that we are going to be learning, we need to have a right track of it. So everything, so the certifications that are available in the Azure is like, first it's going to be a Azure 900, which is going to be the beginner certification, wherein what is that you will be learning is like you'll be learning all these things. On the next certification you'll be learning advance of it. I'm going to tell you both of it. So the Azure subscription, for anyone to have a relationship with Azure, you need to have a subscription. So it could be a trial subscription, it could be a enterprise subscription, it could be a sponsorship subscription, it could be an Azure Pass, it could be anything. But for you to create a relationship with Azure, you need a minimum certificate, like minimum subscription. So if you say like I'm a new user, I would like to try out, saying like what is there in Azure, I want to have a trial account, means yes, you will be able to create a trial account, but minimum what you require is like you require a credit card for creating a subscription. You will be charged only 2 rupees, but after 30 days, and after 30 days you will have to either convert it to pay as you go, or else you have to probably create a new subscription with a different credit card. As in when you say like I want to give it a try with Azure, you will be given a $200 credit onto your account so that you can try out all the possible resources. So what is the good thing about is like Microsoft is training you for a better cost management. Why? Because like everything is pay as you go model. So you just turn on a machine, and if you forget it, that's not a big deal in on premises, but here it's going to be built. The machine is up and running, a resource is up and running, it's going to be built for your own company. So which means like If you are an administrator on the on-premises perspective, we are not so much worried about the cost, but here, yes, the cost matters a lot. If you keep a machine on without a reason, it is going to be costing. So the cost management also like dealt during this particular training. So what are the topics? First is the Azure subscription. As I told you, like to get started with Azure, to build a relationship, definitely your subscriptions are the first and foremost thing that you should be thinking of. Second is like we'll be talking about the Azure resource groups. So everything is bundled as a resource group. For example, you say that I want to have a data center. I want to have a data center in 4 different countries. One in India, one in Malaysia, one in UK, and one in US. So what is that you're going to do is like you're going to bundle everything as a different resource groups. One resource groups, one resource group will have multiple resources. One resource can be a VM, can be a storage group, can be a availability set, can be a availability zone. It could be anything. So all those things are going to be within like all those things are going to be within one bundle. That bundle is going to called as a resource group, which means like within the resource group all resources behave like a like all the resources which are sitting in the same data center. That is the good thing about it. So creating 4 resource group under one subscription, and we can have a connection between that, which means your company is up and running. So it is that easy for implementation. So for you to set a company on the on-premises, minimum it will take at least 2 months of deployment and implementation and setting up and bringing it live. Here it's just a matter of days, or if you are an expert, you can bring it up in a matter of hours also. So as I told you that talking about the Azure regions, yes. So why these regions are important? Because like when you are a company who's thinking about I want a high availability solution because like my business is very critical. I'm not ready to for my services to go down at any point of time. I cannot take that hit. So these Azure regions are going to help you in setting up an availability zones. As I told you that it is going to give you a 99.99 percentage of uptime, which is the best uptime that is available in the Azure. So talking about like what are the services which are available. So the first thing we are going to talk about is the compute services. When I say compute services, all your VMs, your virtual machines. So Microsoft Azure has a multiple flavors of operating system. Because Microsoft is a Microsoft like it's very good in terms of Windows. That doesn't mean like Linux are not available. There are like multiple flavors of Linux machines are also available. You say that you want a Red Hat Linux 7.4 or 8, or else you say that you want a Ubuntu 18.04. So you say that Ubuntu 19, any version you ask for it, you want a CentOS. So you want a Windows flavor. It could be a 2016, 19, 2012 R2, any sort of machine you ask for, it is readily available and it will be deployed and handed over to you in a matter of minutes. It's that fast, and also it's that agile that immediately things can happen and it will be ready for you. So that is the reason like many companies are definitely opting for it. So I spoke about the scale set, the scalability of increasing the count and decreasing the count within minutes, within seconds. That is the best thing about it. And also making this thing happen is also in a very simplest way, because Microsoft knows about their administrators. Their administrators are so much comfortable with the GUI part. So Microsoft makes it in a way like any administrator, even though that administrator is a starter who is coming into the cloud environment for the first time, even that administrator will also be able to learn it. So the next one is the storage services. So storage services are very important. Why? Because like everywhere data, there is a huge amount of, there is a terabytes and terabytes of data which is in motion. So which means like data is flowing here and there. Where we can store it? how we can store it, how we can secure it, how we can categorize it, how we can bundle it. All those things are dealt over here. So you create a storage service, you say like what kind of storage you wanted. Either you want a binary large object, or you would like to have a file or a queue or a container. Everything is designed over here. So like for example, if you are using a messaging services, you want to have a queue. Either you want to have a unstructured data, that is also possible. So you just name it anything that you want it, that is readily available on the Azure. So which means like when you learn these things, when your organization is looking for something, you can step up and say like, yes, this is available in Azure and I have the knowledge to implement this, and that credit is going to come to you. So that is the good thing about knowing Azure from end to end, which will be covered during this particular training. And also talking about the networking services, I told you already that you don't really have to worry about the networking. You will be getting the best of the speed and the very no latency at all. You won't even feel the latency. You will feel as such that the data center is just sitting next to you. It is going to be that fragile and that easy access. Okay, so that is the good thing about the networking setup which is available inside the Azure. So now you say that I don't want to probably take that setup. I want to create a own setup for me with a set of resources that are connected through these networking services, which is totally fine. You will be able to design it everything from the scratch. You say like, I want to have a networking devices like this. I want to have these many subnets. I want to have only these many machines to be available in this particular subnet. I want to isolate this particular subnet. I want to keep this in the DMZ, all those things. So which means like exact replica of your networking setup which you are having on the on-premises, you will be able to cover it. You will be able to make it happen through through the networking services available on the Azure. The next is the cost management. So Azure goes with the goal as a pay as you go model. So which means like how much ever you are using, you will be able to pay only that. Your organization will be able to pay only that. Which means like as an administrator, if you are having an access of a billing management, so these roles you will be coming to know as in when you go through the Azure fundamentals, because like who plays what role in the company. So only if you know that, it will be very easy for you to manage. So the cost management is done by the billing administrator. So he has the clear cut detail about like how much Microsoft is charging your company. So if a billing administrator is coming and telling like there are some unused resources, or we need to do a monthly cleanup or a half yearly cleanup, whichever resources which are not being used has to be cleaned up. The same thing like what we do in our on-premises environment, that kind of setup we can do it over here, which is totally possible. And as I told you, like the high availability features, every service you take, like you take as the compute service, you take it as a networking service, storage service, every service has its own high availability features available. So which means like your data is never ever going to go down. That is the whole and soul marketing strategy what Microsoft is promising for its customers. And next is the disaster recovery feature. So what is this disaster recovery feature? At any point of time, so now we are all on a BCP, like business continuity plan. So what is the current plan? What is the current plan that every company is now taking is like work from anywhere. So how come that is happening? Because your services are extended outside your data centers also. From anywhere through the internet, you can get into your data center and access the resources. That is the feature which is available. That same kind of feature and the flexibility, everything is available for you as in when you go through the Azure. So that is the reason. So by keeping all these things in mind, only many companies are approaching towards Microsoft for converting their own on-premises into a cloud setup, so that like They don't have to maintain it, they don't have to procure additional licenses, they don't have to procure new hardware, they don't want to worry about the hardware failures, hard disk failures, data losses, Windows updates. They don't have to worry about any of these particular problems in the future. Okay, so now the most important thing is like we need to know, as an administrator you should know like what is the future is going to be. The future is going to be the cloud computing, that is for sure, and everyone knows that. So but how, who's going to be the master? Like what, how I should take my career, how I should design my career, what if I learn today I will be able to master into something in the future. So the one answer is the cloud computing. Now there are so many customers are in the world are now going towards the Microsoft Azure. Okay, so you need to know the cloud infrastructure, because when your company is moving towards the cloud, and if you say that I'm so much comfortable with on-premises, means probably like it is a risk for your job. It is very, very important that you need to go as per the flow. The flow is moving towards the cloud computing. There are like many companies are now thinking about Azure. They are on a testing phase, say like let me have a hybrid cloud, 10 percentage or 25 percentage of my resources, let me keep it in the Azure cloud. Let's see how it works. So now many companies has gone through this testing, and they have been successful in this testing. They are happy with the service that Microsoft is providing, so they're happy to keep their data on the Microsoft data center. So being said that, what is going to happen is like in future the many of the companies are going to be on the Azure cloud, which means like you need to be knowing like how to manage your infrastructure which is sitting on the Microsoft Azure cloud. So you need to know how to go into the portal, set up something, change something, decommission something, and also like quickly prepare something whenever there is something which is required. It could be any operation, setting up a server, deleting a server, managing a server, installing a server. It could be any operation. You should be ready for it. So what is the agenda that we are trying is like we are trying to bring people, and we are trying to teach this particular technology to people who are looking to get started with the Azure. So Azure is having a very high market share. So in future that market share is definitely going to go high. The percentage of the Azure in the market is growing also. So Microsoft has beaten Amazon in terms of the number of regions that it has expanded. Microsoft has recently started their data center in the UAE region, which is an achievement because Amazon was not able to do it. So like that, at few points, at many places, Microsoft is trying to beat its competitor, the Amazon. So and also Microsoft is being a loyal and a legacy company, and many people trust Microsoft for their services, so that many companies are going for Microsoft. And also what is the advantage is that there are companies which are already having a Microsoft license. For example, like you have a license with Microsoft which is just 6 months old. There is another 6 months which is still pending. So if you say that I already have a license, means you are going to get the resources at a discounted price, which means like Microsoft is like working very hard to expand its wings around the world, and it is trying to bring as much customers as possible under their umbrella. So being said that, if Microsoft is working hard to do something of that sort, being an administrator, you should also be ready for the competition, ready for the market. At some point of time, if your company is asking that, do you know this, means you should be ready for it. Because like whenever the company is looking for a migration from its on-premises to Microsoft Azure, you have to be ready for the administration. That is what we are trying to see, like how much we can share the knowledge for everyone, who so that we can be ready for the future as well. Sonakshi, sorry, Satyakshi, over to you.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Um, Thank you, Sheikh, for your invaluable insights on technology. I'm sure it was certainly a very informative session for all of you. If you guys are interested in learning more about Azure or other technologies, do check out our batches of VILT trainings on our website, springpeople.com. These VILT trainings are leveraged online from comfort of your home and flexible as per your schedule and location. If you do not find any suitable batches, we would be happy to discuss and schedule private batches for you. If you don't have time to join live online, then do try out our affordable self-paced courses. For more information, do write to us at training@springpeople.com or call on our number displayed on the current slide. Now, we will open the forum for Sheikh to answer questions that we have received during the PPT. So let's get our questions answered. Over to you, Sheikh.
Thank you, Satyakshi. So I could see that there are few questions asked on the forum. So I would like to talk about Vivek Kumar Tripathi's question. Please highlight feature differences between Azure versus AWS. So now, as I already told you that Azure and AWS are the head-to-head competitors. So there are few places where Azure is the master. There are few places that AWS is the master. So talking about the comparison, AWS is very strong in terms of the technologies. It could be like a developer technologies. It could be like the containers, or it could be the Kubernetes. So Azure also has its strongest part, saying like it is very strong in its scaling, in its VMs, and also like few of the concepts, like you take it as a storage. Azure is definitely stronger in that. So like that, this Azure and AWS are head to head, and they are a tough competitors between that. So there are few companies. What is that they are doing is like they are going on a multiple public cloud strategy, which means like they are having option of keeping few services on their premises, few thing on Azure, few thing on AWS. Yes, definitely there is a option that there is a head-to-head competition between Azure and AWS. Both has its own advantage and the disadvantages. Okay, so I hope I answered the question. So I would like to answer a question from Satyadeep Behra. Having clusters for availability set or having VMs in different resource group, which is the best for the cloud? So this is a very, very specific question, Satyadeep. So availability set has its own way of working. Availability set is something like the same set of machines. You can have it in the same availability set, which will be having its own fault domain and the update domain. And having it in different resource group, that is completely a different scenario. Probably like you need to think about like how it is being accessible. So keeping that in mind, we have to decide like how it is beneficiary for the company, because uh, the decision differs from company to company. All right, so what I would suggest is like if the company has a good amount of budget, so they can go for availability zone, which is going to provide you a 99.99% of availability. So again, it's all scenario based and situation based depending upon the decision of the organization. All right. So I would like to answer Anil Reddy's question. Can we see a screenshot of portal? Yes, we can definitely. So I got this page open. So in this one, so this is the portal for Azure. So just a quick overview of this, saying like if you are a person who wants to try it, so go to portal.azure.com. You can register for a trial version. As I told you that you have to provide your credit card, so that like your subscription is going to be registered. So what are the things that we are having here is like you have a resource group, VMs, you have your storage, virtual network. So everything is just a matter of clicks. So if only thing that you should be exploring back to back is that this portal, if you are becoming so strong in terms of this portal, you are a good administrator. You are a good Azure administrator. That is the good thing about this. So say like one, as I told you that you have to create a resource group and start creating resources into that. That is the idea about it. Okay, so yeah, I hope that that will be helpful. So Anil Reddy, why don't you just try out with by creating a subscription in Azure, and you will be able to use it for 30 days with a $200 credits. You can do a cost management, you can do a compute services, you can test out the storage services. Everything can be tested out with that $200 credit and within the 13 days of time limit. That is the good thing about. Okay, so I would like to probably talk about question. Okay, so again, I would like to answer Satyadeep's question saying like, what is the best strategy if the company is not interested to sync AD authentication for login with users? So it is important that you do a AD sync authentication for users, but still, if you say that I don't want to have a synchronization with the cloud as well as the on-premises, then what could happen is like you can have the services on the cloud in an isolated way. So that services are going to be isolated, has to be accessed separately, and the amount of resources you are having on the on-premises needs to be accessed separately. That is the idea behind it. Okay, I hope that was clear. Okay, one last question I would
Hello.
like to address over here. Yep.
You go ahead. I thought you have finished the session for question Q&A. Go ahead.
Yeah, one last question I would like to address. So it is So the question is from Amit Agarwal saying like, can you please let me know how cloud computing technology helpful for a QA candidates? So this quality analyst candidates can also play a role over here. Why? Because like there are companies who are looking for a specific it could be a billing administrator. So because like QA candidates are good in terms of testing and managing things and also making sure nothing is going wrong. So we have though we have administrators, we have multiple roles. It could be a security administrator, it could be a security reader, it could be a billing administrator. You can fit into any role over here. So additionally get started with it, and slowly if you can have the administration skill also, that could be of great value, Amit. So try in that perspective of shaping your career with Azure. All right, so I'm done with the questions. Satyakshi, over to you.
Okay. Hope to see you again for our next expert webinar. Bye bye.